In 1983, the video game market crashed. With the release of so many new games in 1982 that flooded the market, most stores had insufficient space to carry new games and consoles. As stores tried to return the surplus games to the new publishers, the publishers had neither new products nor cash to issue refunds to the retailers. Many companies went bankrupt and some disappeared forever. Lack of confidence in video game sector caused many retailers to stop selling video game consoles or reduce their stock significantly, reserving floor or shelf space for other products. Fast forward to 1984. 1984 was a year of great change. Apple launched the Apple Macintosh. Virgin Airlines took to the air and the first blocks dropped on a little-known game coming out of Russia called Tetris. Mankind was taking great leaps into the unknown with the first untethered spacewalk and the maiden flight of the Space Shuttle Discovery. And as Band-Aid sparked awareness over childhood hunger in Ethiopia, on December 15th, 1984, I was born. Fast forward to October 18th, 1985, and the video game industry changed forever.
Will it be you? Will your family be the first to witness the birth of the incredible Nintendo Entertainment System?
In 1985, the NES was released in North America. The first test launch was in New York City on October 18th, 1985, with an initial shipment of 100,000 deluxe set systems. The NES then consisted of the deluxe set and an initial library of 17 games. The deluxe set included a control deck console, 2 gamepads, Rob the Robot, the Zapper light gun, and the game packs Gyromite and Duck Hunt. 15 additional games were sold separately. For the nationwide launch in 1986, the NES was available in 2 different packages. The fully featured $160 deluxe set as used during the New York City launch, and a scaled down $99 control deck package, which included the console, 2 gamepads and Super Mario Bros. During the late 1980s, NES sales were lower than that of the Master System here in the United Kingdom. By 1990, the Master System was the highest selling console in Europe. Though the NES was beginning to have a fast growing user base in the United Kingdom, Sega continued outselling Nintendo in the UK into 1992. But as we approach the 40th anniversary of both myself and the NES in 2025, this series is a celebration of all things NES and proof that life begins at 40. This is the NES Top 40 at 40. This year sees the 40th anniversary of my life, and 2025 sees the 40th anniversary of the iconic Nintendo Entertainment System. And to celebrate these 2 milestones, I wanted to build my dream NES collection and prove the only reason we grow old is because we stop playing. This is the NES Top 40 at 40. Hello and welcome to the NES Top 40 at 40, a brand new challenge for 2025 to celebrate not just one of the most iconic consoles of all time, but anniversaries. Here on the eve of my 40th birthday and with the 40th anniversary of the Nintendo Entertainment System rapidly approaching in 2025, I'm going to build my dream NES collection, and I'm taking you folks along for the ride. But why now, I hear you ask? Here we are on the eve of my 40th birthday, my 40th anniversary, if you will. And next year, in October, we will see the 40th anniversary of the launch of the NES in North America. What better way to celebrate these 2 milestones than with the NES Top 40 at 40? So what is the NES Top 40 at 40, I hear you ask? It's not just a challenge, but a celebration, not only of the passing of time, of life, but of one of the best gaming consoles of all time, and a console which I've neglected over the years. And over the course of the next 12 months, up until the 15th of December 2025, I'm trying to build my dream NES collection of these 40 amazing games. Now these are 40 games which I've hand-picked that I want for my dream NES collection, and today we're going to go through my original NES collection and explain why I need to add these 40 games to make the dream NES collection. This right here is the first and only NES console I have ever owned. Growing up, I never had one. All of my friends, myself included, were Sega players, and I missed out on so many classics, never having one of these consoles growing up. And this is why I'm so excited for this challenge and this journey, to experience so many games for the very first time. And there are so many games on this incredible list which I'm looking forward to playing for the first time and experiencing with you folks watching. The NES Top 40 at 40 isn't just about collecting games, it is about playing games. And so many games on this list I have never played before. And I'm going to be taking you folks along for the journey, not just hunting for these games in the wild and anywhere I can pick them up, but also playing them. We're going to be experiencing some of the greatest games ever made, some of which for the first time in 40 years. Let me explain how I've formulated this list of 40 games which I'm hoping to find over the next 12 months. My NES collection, while small, is split equally between boxed and loose cartridges. And we have games such as this one right here, WWF WrestleMania. But I also have this game boxed. Being a massive wrestling fan, I knew, even starting out collecting for the NES, I had to pick up the WWF games and also WrestleMania Steel Cage Challenge, again complete in the box. Now this series is about collecting loose cards, and as a wrestling fan, one of the first games on this list is of course Pro Wrestling for the NES. Over the course of the years, I've picked up loads of cheap NES cartridges, such as Captain Skyhawk, the games that cost £5 to £10, the common games that nonetheless are sometimes very, very good. And over the course of this series, we're going to see some very, very cheap games, because there's some amazing titles that don't have to break the bank. Games such as Gremlins 2, which takes us to the next game on our list, a very cheap one, but a game I nonetheless really want to add to my collection, Home Alone 2. Which brings us from one of the cheapest games on this list at just £6 to, without a shadow of a doubt, the most expensive game on this list, weighing in at £170 as of now in CEX. And to understand why I need to pick up this game, we need to go back to my original NES collection. So here we have a copy of Castlevania CIB in the box, one of my favourite games of all time and from my personal collection. We also have Castlevania 2, Simon's Quest, once again in fantastic condition. So over the course of the NES Top 40 at 40, I want to add, at the eye-watering price of £170, Castlevania 3. This is going to be one of the biggest and hardest games to cross off the list, but no one ever said this was going to be easy. When the NES first launched in 1986, it had an absolutely amazing catalogue of launch games, including titles such as Duck Hunt, Gyromite, Gumshoe, and the absolutely incredible, which I have boxed and complete, Golf. But there were so many incredible launch titles for the NES, and one of the games on our list for the top 40 at 40 is of course Excitebike. What an absolutely incredible game, and a Nintendo classic I need to have in my collection. But even looking over this list of amazing launch games, there are games which I wish I'd added to this list of 40 games. But this is the thing, over the course of the next 12 months, I will be on the lookout for hidden bangers and also listening to suggestions from you viewers of games which I still need to add to my NES collection. So trust me, we're not just sticking to these 40 games, we're going to pick up some amazing hidden gems and forgotten bangers over the course of the next 12 months. And we will be looking for these games everywhere, and I do mean everywhere. Yes, I will be picking up a small percentage of these games online, but the majority of these games I want to find out in the wild. Games such as this, which my wife recently picked up from a gaming market. Gaming markets are going to be one of the best places for me to find some of the more obscure, rare games on this list. But never forget CX is one of some of the amazing independent gaming stores around the UK, which we'll be visiting throughout this series. I will of course be hitting up CX and looking for cheap bangers such as this one I picked up in CX Double Dragon 3, which brings us nicely onto the next game on our list, Double Dragon. Yes, I could have picked up Double Dragon 1 and 2, but I wanted to go back to the OG. I didn't want to bloat this list with too many games with sequels, so for me, Double Dragon, the original, was a must. Speaking of sequels, that brings us nicely onto this next game. Growing up in the 80s and still to this day, I was and always will be a massive TMNT fan. But back in the day, Turtles games for home consoles were mainly available on the NES. And it took me many years, but this was one of the first games I picked up when I started collecting for the NES, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So of course, when I was formulating this list, one of the first games I added was of course Turtles 2. Cannot wait to pick up and play this one. Much like TMNT, the NES was a golden age of gaming for Disney games. Games such as this one right here, Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. And we have not one, but two absolutely iconic Disney games on this list. Darkwing Duck and one of my favourite cartoons of all time, DuckTales. I am dreading, but also looking forward to playing DuckTales because I have heard it is a tough game. But if I can get anywhere in Turtles, maybe I'll have a bit more luck in DuckTales. Now, because this list is only 40 games, there are not very many sports games on this list. There is only one sports game on this list because I'm a massive fan of extreme sports. And two of my favourite games on the NES are both Skate or Die, absolutely iconic game, and its lesser known follow-up, Ski or Die. But the sports game that has made this list of 40 games which I need to add to my NES collection is the iconic California games. One of the very first games I ever played. And I've played multiple versions of this game over the years, but never on the NES until now. Can't wait to pick it up. As you can see here, I still have a veritable stack of amazing CIB NES games in my collection, some of which we will talk about later in this series, from a variety of amazing publishers. But when it comes to gaming, not just on the NES, there's only one publisher which will without a shadow of a doubt go down in history as the greatest publisher perhaps of all time, and that is of course the granddaddy of them all, Nintendo. Over the years, Nintendo has developed so many beloved franchises, but also over the years, so many have been forgotten to time. This game right here for my collection, Rad Racer, developed by Square, is a game that not a lot of people talk about. And another game which has made the list, which has been seemingly forgotten to time, a franchise which Nintendo forgot, Balloon Fight. This is a Nintendo game I have never played, so it had to be on this list of 40 games. Cannot wait to experience this Nintendo classic for the first time. When it comes to retro video games, I believe that some games age better than others, and one genre of video games which is absolutely timeless is puzzle games, which brings us on to the next game on our list, featuring two of the most iconic Nintendo mascots of all time. So first off, we have to look at games I already have in my collection. Games such as Dr. Mario and Yoshi's Cookie, which then brings us to the next game on our list, Mario and Yoshi, one of the best puzzle games of all time and one of the first games I ever played back in the day on the original Game Boy, and I cannot wait to play it on the NES. But when we talk about puzzle games, then, now and forever, quite possibly the greatest puzzle game of all time is of course the granddaddy of them all, Tetris. And this game had to make the list. Once again, I originally played this game on the Game Boy, but I needed to have this game in this collection for the NES. If for no other reason, the history of this game is absolutely insane. We're going to dive deeper into this, into the episode when I pick up this game, but until then, if you have Apple TV, check out the Tetris movie. It will quite literally blow your mind. When we talk about the greatest gaming mascots of all time, more often than not, one name tops that list. The Italian plumber who changed the face of gaming, Mario. And one Mario game had to make this list. It isn't this game right here, Super Mario Bros. 3, as I already have this in my collection in, I must say, pretty exceptional condition. It isn't the original Mario game which changed the face of gaming, because somewhere in this games room I have the cartridge which has that original Super Mario Bros. Game and Duck Hunt. The Mario game we are on the hunt for the NES Top 40 at 40 is the underloved and underappreciated Super Mario Bros. 2, and a game I must admit I've never played, so I cannot wait to cross this one off the list. Which brings us to the final game we're going to talk about from this list of 40 games this time, and I have quite possibly saved the best till last. Without a doubt, one of the most influential video games of all time. A game of which I have the sequel to, but not the original, Legend of Zelda. A game I have to have in my NES collection. That iconic gold cartridge must be in my grasp by the end of this challenge. But trust me, there are so many games still to talk about on this epic list of 40 games, and I cannot wait to take you folks along for this legendary 12-month ride. There we have it then, folks. That is my newest challenge for 2025, the NES Top 40 at 40. And the hunt begins at the stroke of midnight on the 15th of December. And I have 12 months to find these 40 games and build my dream NES collection. And I hope you join me for this absolutely crazy ride. I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe. And remember, life begins at 40 and we only grow old because we stop playing. See y'all soon.